There are two types of people in life. There are ones that just point out problems and complain and cause chaos all day. And then there are ones that come with problems and they present solutions to those problems. 90% of my content on my channel, I try to present solutions to the problems that the liberals love to complain about so much. But one thing that's become apparent to me is that the so-called liberal black person does not have any solutions because they've been clouded by this idea of racism, that anytime that we should actually be talking about a specific law or a specific policy on the books that may or may not need to be changed, we can't ever have that conversation because the white liberal steps in and says, hey, you know what? This is racism. The whole system is systemically racist. And this is something that is being taught in schools currently. When I was in college and I took sociology courses, this was law. This was biblical. Everything that happens now has to come back to this systemically racist system that nobody has a solution for. And the people that speak out against this liberal ideology and that try to come forward with some type of solutions to shift the conversation away from just racism are shunned for it. That's what's happening to Charles Barkley. But before we get in that, my name is Greg Foreman. You're watching a Black Conservative Perspective. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And most importantly, share a Black Conservative Perspective, aka a liberal's worst nightmare. Let's get it. All right, so watch this clip of Charles Barkley discussing the aftermath of the Breonna Taylor situation.
Be careful when I hear these fools on TV talking about defund the police and things like that. We need police reform and prison reform and things like that. Because you know who ain't gonna defund the cops? White neighborhoods and rich neighborhoods. So that notion they keep saying that, I'm like, wait a minute, we just gonna leave, who are black people supposed to call? Ghostbusters? When we have crime in our neighborhoods, we need police reform. But like I say, white people, especially rich white people, they're always gonna have cops. So we need to stop that defund or abolish the cops crap.
And we started this.
So I think Charles Barkley brings up good points. And I probably agree with 90% of what he says. And I think that with him talking about this idea of defunding the police, what he's saying is that people that are rich and that can afford to pay for their own police are not going to be hurt by this policy. Because one, they're not going to let it happen. They're not going to let police stop policing their communities, one. And then two, if they were to abolish or get rid of the police, they can afford to hire their own police collectively. And that's what they will do. And the people that are really going to be hurt by this type of policy are going to be those who cannot afford that, such as those that are living in poverty. Now, some people want to argue that these poor communities are being over-policed and police doesn't necessarily bring down crime. And my response to that is that some of that may be true. These police budgets may be overinflated, just like the military budget may be overinflated. However, we have to bring down crime first before we can talk about really bringing down the amount of police presence significantly, because police do serve as a deterrent for crime. And you guys claim to be so focused on achieving justice. If there is no police or law enforcement, then there cannot be any justice. Now, obviously, the individual should try to protect himself first, right? That's why everybody has the right to carry arms. However, again, you cannot deny the role of the police in terms of acting as a deterrent. And my solution regarding the police involves preventing interactions with the police in the first place. Because again, like I've said before in prior videos, I don't trust the government to police me fairly. I don't. So I want to try to avoid interactions with the police in the first place. That's why I preach personal responsibility. Policing starts in the home. That is the first line of defense. And what that means is that you need fathers in homes. And until you have fathers in homes, then trying to abolish the police makes absolutely no sense. And herein lies the real issue that we should focus on. Because 72% of births in the black community are out of wedlock. And 1/3 of children under the age of 18 are living with single parents. These are the disparities, the real disparities, that you never hear come out of the mouth of the liberals. These are the keys to solving poverty. Like I've said before 1,000 times over. When you avoid interactions with the police in the first place, then you don't have to worry about them roughing you up. There are policies out there that can help with this, such as mass incarceration, that I'm going to talk about later, that we cannot and we do not focus on because we're too busy caught up in this race conversation that, like I keep saying over and over again, goes nowhere. And this is done on purpose. If we were out in the streets protesting about mass incarceration, that problem would get solved. But because we're out in the streets protesting about racism, something that doesn't have a solution, the problem will never be solved. George Floyd happened. I thought we should have focused on qualified immunity. That was a conversation we need to have. Can't focus on it. Racism. Nobody's talking about it. I think there was a bill introduced to try to get rid of it. Nope, didn't go nowhere because nobody cares. This Breonna Taylor situation. Rand Paul. I know there's some difference in opinions among whether or not a no-knock versus a knock warrant is actually safer. But at least Rand Paul tried to propose a bill to try to get rid of no-knock warrants. He tried something. He was attacked by Black Lives Matter protesters talking about say her name. And it's like, this dude is trying to fight for you guys. This is somebody you need to be trying to work with. Whether or not you agree with his proposal, but this is somebody that's shown that is trying to do something. And again, this is the Democrat playbook, guys. Mass chaos and confusion so that nothing gets done. Fighting racism is like fighting ghosts. You just swing in the air. Look at the Kanye situation. Oh, he's a coon. He's a sellout because he dared try to work with President Trump. Even though Kanye worked with President Trump on getting thousands of nonviolent drug offenders released from jail and presidential pardons. But Trump is framed as some type of racist and somebody that is trying to hinder the black community when, Trump signed the First Step Act, which is criminal justice reform. Nope, he's a racist. Nope, racism, can't deal with it, doesn't count. And I'm laughing because this is just so ridiculous. Like, Trump increased funding to HBCUs, historically black colleges and university. He's a racist, doesn't count. Trump's done nothing for the black community, that's what they say. It's like, man, these people are so caught up in this race conversation that they can't see the biggest opportunity of lifetimes right in front of them. Like I said, I've said this before. If Trump is a racist or a white supremacist, like many of these people claim that he is the worst white supremacist I've ever seen in my life. And so many people are so caught up in this race conversation that they don't even realize that they're missing the biggest opportunity of our lifetimes with President Trump. President Trump literally is the biggest missed opportunity for black people that I've ever seen in my life. Probably in American history. And they don't even realize it. We just seen that if you at least try to work with the man, he may do something for you. And again, this is why leadership matters. People think Kanye is crazy. Kanye is not crazy. Kanye just understands strategy. Kanye is 2 and 3 steps ahead of these Negroes. That's why I believe that President Trump, as well as the Republican Party, can be pushed on some of these issues that can help mitigate things such as mass incarceration that does contribute to fatherless homes in the black community. Because we saw Trump get pushed on prison reform. All it takes is somebody that's willing to work with him, that's willing to step across the aisle. I believe that legalization needs to happen because it is the physically conservative thing to do, and I feel like it's also the moral thing to do. You legalize, tax, and regulate. Now, y'all can feel free to argue with me about that in the comment section. But I know some people like to come in my comment section talking about, you only agree with white people tell you to agree with. And it's like, well, I think only 55% of Republicans agree with legalization or decriminalization, whatever you want to call it. And something I just thought about off the top of my head, which is pretty funny, is that Kim Kardashian, who gets trashed by these black women on the internet for being a quote-unquote culture vulture, has done more for black people than the loudest black women on the internet like Jemele Hill. Think about that. Kim Kardashian has done more for black people than Jemele Hill has. But Jemele Hill gets on the internet and starts to criticize people like Charles Barkley, who's at least trying to present some solutions, and she doesn't have any. I've never seen Jemele Hill at one protest. Not that going to a protest helps. That doesn't help. But I've never seen her at a protest. Never seen it. But yet, She gets on her high horse. She goes on Twitter and accuses Trump supporters of all being racist, even though her mom was a Trump supporter. Tell me, how does that work? Is your mom racist? Or at least she was a Trump supporter. And then she says stupid statements like, black men are the white people or black people. Again, but when you ask, okay, Jamil, what have you done for black people? What policies are you for? What solutions do you have? And she doesn't have any answers. When she's the real culture vulture, she's the real sellout. She sold social justice to you, and she's made you think that the United States of America is the worst country ever, even though she can sit on her ass all day and talk shit about it and make millions of dollars. Millions. Tearing down this country, the worst country ever. But if she go to a country like China, she might be in prison for doing something like that. She go to a country like Russia, she might be assassinated for doing something like that. She won't move to Africa. She can move to Liberia. She can go. But she won't do it. She gonna stay here. She ain't gonna move away. John Legend came out talking about if President Trump win, people might have to leave this country. Good. Go. Leave. Put your money where your mouth is. You don't like America? Go. I'll help you pack your bags. More space. Housing prices might go down. I might be able to buy some real estate. Go ahead. Dip. If you don't like it, go. But all these people just talking. And then you got the biggest grifter, Colin Kaepernick, who's been pimped out by Nike, which means he's also been pimped out by China just from association. On the internet, talking about abolish the police. Somebody that's worth $40-50 million that does not have to deal with the consequences of abolishing the police. Doesn't have to deal with it if it actually were to happen. Who is framed as some type of civil rights leader when he has nothing to say. Colin Kaepernick won't start his own YouTube channel. He don't have his own talk show. He won't go on somebody else's talk show, left or right. He won't go on Fox News. I mean, you got to give Bernie Sanders credit. At least Bernie, for as crazy as his ideas are, at least he'll go on Fox News and talk about his ideas with the opposite side, with the opposing party. Because at the very least, he's convicted in what he believes. Colin Kaepernick doesn't know what he believes. He just knows what he's being told to believe. Because the only thing he's concerned about is collecting that check. But these are the people that we allow to lead us, guys. The blind leading the blind. And we all end up in a ditch. And then we wonder why we in last place. But see, the picture that's being framed by the white liberal and the black liberals as well is that the black conservatives are sellouts. Because they have a message of pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, building our own communities, building our own businesses, putting fathers back in homes, not killing our babies in the womb, solving our own problems, not depending on somebody else to treat us better than we treat ourselves. But we sellouts because white people just so happen to agree with that message. Truth does not have a color. If a white supremacist comes up to me or a member of the KKK and says, hey, the black community needs more fathers in the homes. If the black poverty rate for married couples is in the single digits, I think it's like 6% now. Does that make that statement any less true because it came from a white supremacist? No. Just because white people happen to agree with a certain message doesn't make the message any less true. Because the truth is the truth. Doesn't matter where it comes from. And herein lies the problem. The Democrats have convinced people that where the message comes from determines whether or not it's the truth. And that's how you get stuck on a Democrat plantation. And I know I said time and time throughout this video that, racism is a circular conversation that has no solution. All that means is that once you stop worrying about racism, you'll find that it's going to affect you a lot less in life. If you believe in yourself and you educate yourself and you build up your skills, you'll be fine. You have every opportunity as the next person. Some people have to work harder than others. Oh well. Every other immigrant group in this country has figured that out. That's why you don't see them in the streets complaining about racism. It's just a distraction from what really matters, which is taking care of you and your family and your community. Every other immigrant group has figured that out. Even the Hispanics know. They know. That's why they come over here. They start businesses, and that's why they're more politically diverse. Just like Joe Biden said. And that's why the Democrats have to fight for their votes. This stuff is not hard to figure out, folks. But I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Trump is the biggest missed opportunity for black people ever. Because Trump has shown that he is somebody that we can work with directly as long as you reach out to him and you try to meet him halfway. But we don't want to do it because it's Trump. Because the Democrats has convinced us that he's racist. And we've given the Democrats the blueprint. You've given the Democrats the blueprint to degrade any Republican candidate in the future. All you got to do is say, well, he's like Trump. And that's how it works. That's the game. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.